Malek, let's start by looking at Sunday's North London showdown between Premier League leaders Tottenham Hotspur and an Arsenal side who are going nowhere fast. We can't really focus on this game without looking at Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who is enduring a miserable season. We'll talk about the stats a little bit later and other areas that might be going wrong. But what's your kind of gut feeling about why Aubameyang is struggling this season?
Throughout most of the season, I've been telling you that it's because he's playing out on the wing, but we started to see him at strike a little bit. I'm still not sure if that's solving the issue. Against Wolves, he had a very lackluster performance, missed a lot of chances. I feel like something else is wrong, Ed.
You talk about the positioning, but I mean, at Dortmund, he often played in a wide area, cut inside, and found the net effectively that way. At the end of last season at Arsenal, he was playing in that similar role on the left flank, cutting inside onto his right foot. So I don't know if we can just say that it is the position that is having the impact. And like you've said, even when he's been operating in a more central role, things haven't been going smoothly for him. So this season so far, in 10 games, he's scored twice. He's not scored from open play since the opening day against Fulham. The only goal that's come since then has been from the penalty spot against Manchester United. He's averaging a goal every 5 games in the league. It's absolutely disastrous return. And I think we have to look at his body language. We've got to look at his confidence. We've got to look at his overall application as well, because I don't think he's I think he's a player who was often criticised that maybe he didn't offer much beyond goal scoring. And that's all well and good when you're banging in winners. But if you're not even goal scoring, then I think you have to adapt. You have to offer something a little bit different than he is doing.
I want to ask, Ed, do you think it was right for him to stay at Arsenal? I feel like part of this loss of motivation might be that he's sort of hit the end of the road. At this point, he's not going to move to a Real Madrid or a club with higher aspirations than Arsenal. Is that the reason why he's lost motivation?
I really don't. I don't think it is, because he kind of knew what he was getting. I mean, if Thomas Partey hadn't arrived, you could have said, okay, well, it's the same old Arsenal, lacking ambition, not willing to open the purse strings a little bit in the summer. But actually, Partey came. There's optimism around the place. Mikel Arteta is a bright, young, proactive manager. Nicola Pepe, we started to see last season what he's capable of. I think there were reasons for Aubameyang to start to believe in the project. But I think now, after Arteta was heralded at the end of last season, people now are starting to question whether he's even the right guy. Is he even a competent manager? And certainly, you look at Arsenal this season; they've lost 5 of their 10 Premier League games. They've only won 4. And like you said, the Wolves game was dismal. They were out of ideas. They were lethargic. It was hard to pick out, apart from Gabriel's header, it was hard to pick out anything that was really positive about their performance.
Yeah, I feel like you're starting to hint at the fact that it's not just Aubameyang's fault that they're in 13th place. Like, there's a lot of issues going on at the club, many of which are probably too great for him to solve.
Yeah, I mean, the defence has improved since Emery's time. The midfield is looking a bit more solid at times. I mean, Xhaka is not a liability. El Neni, we've praised him, but he's maybe a kind of a plan B that's coming good rather than...
Calm down. Respect him.
Well, no, I mean, like, listen, I think in I know you're a massive El Neni fan. I know you've got your poster up on the wall, but I think when Arteta planned this season, he probably wasn't planning for El Neni to be one of the major positives of the campaign, was he?
Yeah, but we can talk about him later. But just to finish with Aubameyang, when he is playing striker, he's not getting good link-ups with any players. Whether it's Lacazette, it's not working out. They're throwing in tons of crosses from the wing, but he's just not connecting. He'll either get the header and miss it, or just won't hit at all. Something's going on with the play style, who he's playing with. And you talked about this before we started recording, Ed, but is Mesut Ozil the missing piece? Could he solve Aubameyang's issues?
Oh, it's such a kind of easy story, isn't it? And I can see why people are jumping on that bandwagon. I can see why Paul Merson is saying that now with Partey in the team, you've got a workhorse in there, you've got someone who can allow Ozil to express himself and flourish. But I don't know. I just think that Arteta was rightly praised, for taking a hard line with Ozil and for putting the ethos of the team, the unity of the group ahead of one man's whims and his particular idiosyncrasies. And now we're criticising him for doing that because things aren't going well, and we're talking about bringing Ozil back. But imagine with 6 months to go of Ozil's contract, drafting him back into the team in January. it completely undermines Arteta. It completely undermines the plans and the project and the initiatives he had at the beginning. Is this really what you're advocating?
They're in 13th place. We've seen some clubs sack their manager in this position. Arteta probably shouldn't be too upset if he just has to bring back a player to save his job.
But imagine, I mean, if it worked, imagine the criticism Arteta gets. If it doesn't work, imagine the criticism Arteta's going to get. I think he's got to be strong.
He's put himself in a bad position.
I think on one hand, I agree with you, because if you've got a player who's earning that much money, you've got to try and make this asset work for you. But at the same time, he's put such big stock in the unity of the group and the idea of these guys working for each other. And if you've got a guy in there like Ozil who is diluting that focus, then it's going to make everyone else weaker, I think. And therefore, I completely understand where he was coming from. You've even had guys like Thierry Henry praising specifically this decision, saying that Arteta needed to be his own man. He needed to make the tough calls. And I think at the end of last season, when things were largely as they were now, except without Partey, we weren't talking about Ozil. And it's only now that if Aubameyang was firing, if he was putting away those chances like he has done for the last 6 years of his career, we wouldn't be talking about Ozil in this way. I think Aubameyang, if he's playing to his top level, we're not having this conversation.
I think from a tactical perspective, taking out Ozil, and then in some cases where Arteta will replace him with a cam such as Joe Willock, he's not experienced enough to be calling for the ball, collecting the ball, and distributing it out. So in those positions where there is an unexperienced player, so young like Willock, playing in cam, the creative focus goes to Aubameyang, whether he's on the wing or at striker. So all these balls are getting sent to him if he can even get into a position. And it's just not working out. So he can't be the creative focus. He needs to have someone, kind of like what you hinted at. Well, I think Partey will be able to free Ozil, but Ozil should also free Aubameyang, if that kind of makes sense. I think that triangle could work very well. So
you're writing off Ceballos. You don't think he could be the guy to unlock Aubameyang? You think Willian already time to move on from that experiment? And what about Pepe? I mean, we spent 72 million on this guy, and we're saying that
he can be in the team
can't fire. Sorry?
He can be in the team too.
We're expecting a little bit more from 72 million, then we have to keep on relying on Ozil. I mean,
yeah.
I think maybe it's just, we're both kind of coming to the conclusion it's not just one specific problem that is causing this overall disaster. But at the same time, I think just saying it's Ozil, it's too easy a narrative, I think, for me.
Just to hit on your Ceballos point, I want to state that I will have an agenda against 90% of the players who start over El Nini. So Ceballos, Xhaka, they're not in my good books.
Why can't we all work together, Malek? Why can't you play Ceballos as the most advanced midfielder in a midfield 3, ahead of Partey and El Nini, and then problem solved, right?
Ozil was one of the best creative players in Real Madrid this past decade. Ceballos couldn't even get in the team. That's all I have to say.
You're remembering, this is what people do. They remember Ozil fondly with rose-tinted glasses. Even when he played, people were slagging him off for being disinterested, for not influencing games, for just doing one magical moment every 2 matches. It's not enough at this level. It's not enough when you're looking to compete for the title, compete for the Champions League. If you're going to be that kind of luxury player, you need to have soldiers around him. And Aubameyang is not the kind of soldier who you can pair with Ozil and expect magic to happen, I'm afraid.
We talked a ton about Arsenal, but they will be facing Spurs, who are top of the table, as you previously said, Ed. What's going on with them?
Yeah, it's important to remember it's not all doom and gloom in North London. I know you're kind of getting used to Arsenal being in the bottom half of the table. They kind of suit it. They suit hovering around the 13th mark. It kind of it works out. I think it's a good look for them. It's a good look. But it's not all doom and gloom in North London at the moment, because as you mentioned, as we've talked about extensively, Tottenham are top of the table. Jose Mourinho, this project that was never going to work, is actually working better than many people, if not anybody, had expected. He's getting the best out of Tanguy Ndombele, which people had not anticipated after last season's horror show. Højbjerg is coming as a marvellous addition, and we have to give immense credit to Serge Aurier. In the past, you've used words like clown, kamikaze to describe him. You've called him reckless. You called him a liability that time, and I said that you were being a little bit precipitous. But look at him now. I mean, look at the way the guy's performing. You've got to admit, Aurier deserves immense credit, right?
I'm a bit shocked by the accusations you threw at me. But I wasn't expecting him to have a good season, to be fair, especially with the signing of Matt Doherty from Wolves. It seemed like it was kind of the end for Aurier, especially hearing from a lot of Spurs fans, maybe not yourself, that Aurier wasn't the best at crossing, might be maybe a defensive liability, and that a more solidified Premier League force such as Matt Doherty, who's been established for maybe 2 seasons at Wolves, could be better than the former PSG defender. But according to you, Doherty has COVID, so to Aurier's possible delight, he will be starting in the massive game. But he's had good performances against the top 6, hasn't he, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, you can even go back to kind of offensively that demolition of Manchester United, which was very enjoyable, by the way. Aurier's performance going forward as the Red Devils were torn apart was a delight. That's obviously that side of his game, which we knew about and which Mourinho has harnessed. But then also defensively, he played his part in clean sheets against Manchester City, the 0-0 draw with Chelsea last weekend, as Tottenham extended their undefeated streak to 9 games. And particularly his performance against Ferran Torres, where he completed 5 tackles, 4 clearances, really relished the kind of one-on-one combat. I think we're definitely seeing defensive improvement from Aurier. So to conclude our North London special segment, Malek, let's look ahead to Sunday's game and give us your big, bold African prediction for the match.
Despite all of the bashing of Aubameyang or of his surroundings we've done, I do think he'll score, even if they do lose. And I will say that Elneny will have a good performance, especially considering how Xhaka and Ceballos are pretty poor against Wolves. And I'm not guessing that both of them will stay in the team. So Elneny will come in, he'll have a good performance as always, then leave the team for a few weeks. And maybe a Tanganga goal off a header, if he does play.